Patreon Q&A number 138. I want to thank all 127 of my amazing patrons. Guys, thank you so much for continuing to support me. And to everyone else listening, there's going to be spoilers for all of the series I'm going to be talking about, so tread carefully. Sean H. asks, do you still think Glasses is going to be the next Saitama, or what do you think is up with him? So as I've always said with Glasses, it's not realistic for him to remove his limiter within the series, or at least what we're going to see of the series, because he would need way more time to achieve that than the realistic time remaining within the series, which is only a couple months, because Shibawa's prophecy is 6 months into the future. So in my opinion, Glasses would need more time than that to remove or break his limiter or whatever. But then again, this is One Punch Man, and he could have some serious plot intervention and just speed that process up somehow. But I just don't think that we will see Glasses remove or break his limiter in the series. I mean, I hope we do. I think that would be amazing, but at the same time, it would kind of be problematic because at this point, he's still a good guy. He's still a hero. So that means that there would need to be a even playing field. There would need to be a villain or a monster that could, compete with him or match him or even surpass him. But I still do think Glasses will become pretty powerful within the actual timeline of the current series. Now, when will that happen? Not really sure. I'm assuming that Glasses will return after the Monster Association arc is over. There's obviously a reason that One has built this character up the way that he has. And it's been a little over 3 years, I think, since we've had an update on him, because the last time we saw him was volume 16 or volume 17 in that volume's bonus chapter. So I'm assuming at this point we just have to wait for the Monster Association arc to be over, because once it is, I think the manga is going to change drastically from the webcomic. I think it'll still hit the same story beats that the webcomic does with the Psychic Sister stuff and all the major plot points that happen after the Monster Association arc is over, but I fully expect things to be so different than they are in the webcomic right now. So if Glasses isn't at least reintroduced at that point, I do think that he'll come in around the time of the Neo Heroes arc, most definitely. I mean, if there's a perfect time for him to come back in, it's around then for sure. Now, who is he going to side with? Will he stay with the Hero Association? Will he join the Neo Heroes? I don't know, it's anybody's guess, but I personally think it would be way more interesting if he joined the Neo Heroes, because he could get way stronger through them and also would be a pretty interesting foil dynamic to the Hero Association at the same time. I honestly wouldn't even be surprised if Glasses somehow becomes S-class level by that point, and maybe he becomes one of the Neo leaders. I think that would be great if that happened, but not really sure, because we don't know what's going on with Glasses right now. But if I had to put money on it, I would say that he'll be somewhat important at least by the time of the Neo Heroes arc. Awakened Saitama asks, was Boros in his prime when he fought Saitama? So it's, there's no way to say for sure, but I would say, yeah, probably. I mean, it's heavily implied that he was unbeatable before he went against Saitama, because I think he says that no one made him even go meteoric burst or something. So even if he wasn't in his prime, I don't think it really matters, because he never really tested himself or pushed himself as far as he did against Saitama. Delamante asks, what's the highest diff fight with a wild animal do you think you could take barehanded on your best day? So I'm not really too sure about, the hierarchy about realistically beatable animals from a barehanded human's perspective, but I'll say I guess a bobcat or a coyote or something. It seems once you go any higher than that, the odds are way stacked against you, because, animals become just so overpowered at that point. But I'm sure somebody in the comments will say oh no, you could beat a mountain lion with your bare hands if you really wanted to. I don't know. I hope I'm not put into a situation where I have to find out firsthand. Dino W asks, I haven't read the comics, but how is Mark and Earth at whole really going to stop the Viltrumite invasion? Just one of them could piece up the whole planet. So I'm not really sure, but I don't think there will be necessarily a Viltrumite invasion, because that would just be too overpowered, right? Omni-Man is obviously going to come back. I mean, he has to, but when he does come back, will he try to take over Earth again? Not really sure, but let's just say in theory there is a Viltrumite invasion. I assume by that point everyone will have powered up, including Mark and the Guardians of the Globe and whoever else is on their side at that point. So maybe they could get strong enough to present a challenge to the Viltrumites. And also, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some kind of kryptonite that exists for the Viltrumites, which might come into play later on. I'm not really sure what the future is with this, which makes it so much more exciting. Second question, any updates on the Space Cat I asked about now that you've watched all of season 1 of Invincible? So Yeah, the space cat or whatever his name is, I don't even want to look it up because I'll probably get spoiled if I go any deeper than I already am. But the lion guy with the mace, he seemed to be, I don't know, close to a Viltrumite strength, right? I mean, he completely wrecked Mark and could have probably killed him if he wanted to. And he obviously left for a reason because he will come back. And I'd love to see him go against Omni-Man. It seems like he's maybe even stronger than the Immortal, right? I mean, there's no way to say for sure at this point, but it just seems like he is. So maybe if that guy comes back and somehow turns face, or I don't know, just is not full-blown against the Earth or just marking them, then maybe he could be somewhat of a good ally against a potential Omni-Man rematch or something. Geruda asks, do you think Deku will eventually bulk up like All Might in order to maximize One For All? It's certainly possible that that will happen, but given how Izuku is and where I think his future is headed, I don't think we'll realistically ever see him get that big because the story's almost over. Unless, like, once he unlocks the full power of One For All, it just makes him that buff. But I honestly don't see that happening because, like, he's like a shonen MC, and usually they don't get, like, that big. Goku and like the 90s guys are outliers, obviously, because it was back in the day and things were different. But nowadays, like, the shonen MCs are more streamlined and have more realistic physiques, I guess. So just going off of that, I don't think Izuku will become that bulked up. The only way that we would see that, in my opinion at least, is if there's somehow like a glimpse of the future, and it's like Izuku when he's like in his 40s or something, and then he's that big. I could see that happening. But anything within the main timeline of the story, I don't think Izuku will get much bigger than he is right now. GH-Tiddy asks, if Gums is fully dead now, do you think he was an underwhelming cadre? I don't think he was underwhelming. I think all of the cadres have to play their own part. They all can't be like built up in such a massive, significant way and all have these crazy big moments. Some of them do just eventually have to be taken out the way that Gums did. And I think he did enough in the manga. I mean, obviously he did way more than he did in the webcomic. Goliath Xanatos asks, do you think that if Bang used the abandonment against Elder Centipede, he might have actually done some real damage or even killed him? So probably not, because we kind of do see Bang use the abandonment against Elder Centipede, because in the first draft for the manga that one presented to Murata, we do see what would have happened if King didn't intervene. And Bang is strong enough to like deflect Elder Centipede, but it like sends him spinning as a result. So does that mean that he would have like killed Elder Centipede? I don't think so. I mean, is it possible? Sure, but I just don't think that Bang could have soloed Elder Centipede, or at least if he did, he probably would have died in the process. I mean, it's not like the abandonment is like Super Saiyan or something. It doesn't like necessarily make him stronger than he already is, or at least that's not the way that it's described in the encyclopedia. If anything, it just makes him more efficient at using the power that he already has. And that's what ultimately came down to Psychos deciding that Bang couldn't defeat Elder Centipede because his hand-to-hand combat wasn't enough. I mean, to this day, I think it's still pretty clear that Elder Centipede is one of the strongest cadres, and his defining trait was durability. So I personally don't think Bang could have taken him even with the abandonment, but he likely would have put up a much better fight than he was originally. Jimmy P asks, in episode 666 of One Piece, Don Flamingo says Luffy has demon blood in his veins. What is the significance of demon blood relating to the One Piece universe? So Daffy's referring to the D here. And if he's not referring to the D, which he very likely is, he's just referring to Luffy coming from the line of Garp and Dragon. And that's pretty much as far as I can go. I don't want to explain to you why Daffy thinks that the D is demon blood, because it will eventually be revealed why he feels that way. For your second question, what is your summation of how Omni-Man can traverse outer space without an oxygen mask? So this is a good question, and I honestly thought about that myself, but considering that it's not explained within the show, or at least as far as I know it wasn't explained, we can only really speculate. And I'm not gonna look it up, because if I, Google Omni-Man, I'm just gonna get spoiled. So I'll just say that I guess he's holding his breath. I don't think it's too far-fetched to think that Omni-Man could hold his breath for like a really long time, like maybe like a year or something if he really wanted to, maybe, I don't know. And I'm pretty sure that he could fly the speed of light or faster or whatever. I mean, I don't see why not. I mean, if he's able to get around space the way that he is. L asks, if Sonic does join the S-Class alongside Flashy Flash, what ranking do you think he'd fall into eventually? So the rankings are like weird, as we all know, and Sonic could be like number 3 or he could be number 18. You know, it's really up in the air, but I would say like if we're grouping him with like where the heroes are grouped on the rankings, I'd say he'd probably be around where Flashy Flash is, like the 12, 13, 14 area probably. Legandaryus asks, what would it take to defeat a high dragon without the S-Class or Saitama around? Include the Neo heroes also. So that's a great question, and it seems like humanity or just the Hero Association in general is like completely defenseless without the S-Class, right? I mean, we hardly see what they would do in the manga, but like in the anime, in that one exclusive scene, we saw like when the Ancient King came up, they shot like missiles at him, but it obviously did nothing. And I don't think he was a high dragon, so it's not really looking good if the S-Class doesn't show up. So I guess they'd have to shoot him with like nukes or something, and even then I don't know if that would be enough. I mean, obviously we haven't seen anything like that happen yet, but I assume it's eventually got to get to that point sooner or later. Little Ferrari asks, when do you think we will see Garo come out of the ground in the manga? It honestly could be at any time right now. I mean, literally the next chapter, Garo could come out of the ground. Things seem to change drastically within almost every chapter at this point. So I'm not going to say it's, you know, still following chapters chronologically from the webcomic, because if it did, then it would take a little bit for Garo to still come out of the ground. But since it's up in the air at this point, I really don't know. Like I said, it could be the next chapter or it could be like the next 10 chapters. Mr.Awsome asks, how would you rank Frieza's 5 forms plus Mecha Frieza? So the Xenomorph Frieza is my least favorite one. And then after that, we could put his like base form, you know, the one that we saw first, then Mecha Frieza, then his second form, then his final form, and then his golden form. Second question is, what if the Immortal actually had gone after the new Guardians like the Blue Man Group had requested? Could they have fended him off, or would it have just been a repeat of episode 1? So that's a good question, and the Immortal seems to be like maybe 1 or 2 tiers possibly, you know, lower than Omni-Man. So I think that the Guardians of the Globe, the current ones, maybe could have fended off the Immortal possibly. I mean, it would be like really high diff it seems, but I don't think it's too unrealistic to say that they probably could have gotten the job done if they pushed themselves far enough. Pandatheman asks, do you think that the Council of Swordsmen are being included into the manga to help Black S show off his numbers? So that's a pretty interesting theory. I didn't even think about that, but it makes sense that, you know, if they do show up and they do help the S-Class heroes against the Cadres, Black S would maybe brag about how he defeated Atomic Samurai and how, you know, no swordsmen are any match for him, and then that's when he, like, you know, expands to numbers that we haven't seen before. I do expect that to happen. I do think we'll get a sequence where Black S will become like a city full of Black S or something. I think that would be pretty awesome, and I'm sure Murata is up for the challenge of illustrating that. And it would certainly be a good way for the Council of Swordsmen to do something, but I mean, if it ultimately leads to them getting destroyed, then I'm still just confused as to why they were included in the first place. The very second question, why do you think that there isn't a super popular mainstream character with the duplication ability? So like you said, Naruto, Doctor Strange, those are like the front runners, I guess, at this point. But as to why there's not like a Superman or like a Goku with that type of thing is because I think that maybe duplicating yourself or just not being a singular thing maybe diminishes the aspect of being like the front man or the main hero, because typically in the mainstream, the MC or like the front runner is kind of just seen as like a singular entity, kind of just doing things by themselves. And when they duplicate or have like multiple versions of themselves or something, then I guess, like I said, maybe it diminishes the fact that they didn't do it necessarily by themselves. Snowpeas asks, I was watching Jujutsu Kaisen and Gojo was able to block T getting thrown on him. I thought his curse curse technique only allows him to block cursed attacks, isn't it? No, limitless just stops everything. Like, if you go back to when he explains it to Gojo, like, can't even touch him with, like, his fingers, so, yeah. StarReaper asks, do you think that we will actually see any of the good guys die? Yes, I do think that heroes will die in One Punch Man eventually, even some significant heroes. I just think it's a matter of time until that happens. I wouldn't be surprised if it happens like towards the very end of the series, like in the final arc with all of the God and the prophecy stuff. I think we'll start seeing deaths around that time. And then for your second question, just starting the My Hero anime, is there an order I should slip the movies in or just power through the normal anime first and watch? No, I think you should definitely integrate the movies into your watching experience. So once you're finished season 2, watch the first movie. And then when you finish season 4, watch the second movie. Wolffire54 asks, since Suiko was revealed earlier in the manga, do you think she'll join the Hero Association a lot sooner as well? Or do you think she'll just go back to her dojo after her brother fully healed? I think that she'll probably join the Hero Association, you know, around the time of the Neo Heroes arc when they're like actively recruiting new people. But again, you know, things could just drastically change and she just joins the Hero Association during this arc for all we know. Very second question, do you think Bang either knew or heard of Suicho, Suiko, or Suiryu? I think for sure Bang knew about Suicho, and I wouldn't be surprised if he mentions him later on in the story, like after the Monster Association arc, like when he's talking to King or Atomic Samurai or something. Like, I could see him name dropping Suicho or something, or mentioning how he died or something. But as for him knowing Suiryu, it's possible. Suiryu did win the Super Fight tournament like once or twice or something, maybe even 3 times or something. I don't remember the exact number, but it makes sense that Bang would maybe have at least heard of his name. I don't think he knows Suiko though. Zapphod B asks, what is the future for the Mercenary Squad? I don't know. I keep asking myself that because they're kind of annoying and I don't like that so much emphasis and spotlight is being put on them. Yes, it does redeem in my mask them coming back to life, and it does line him up for his eventual character arc in the webcomic or what is to come in the manga. But other than that, I guess maybe they'll join the Hero Association or something, or maybe they'll join the Neo Heroes later. For your second question, do you think Stinger could beat Withered Sprout? So I think I always kind of say the same thing with Withered Sprout battles. It comes down to like if they know what's going on with him beforehand. So if like Stinger was briefed about Withered Sprout and what his abilities are and how dangerous he was, then I think Stinger could defeat him. But if Stinger just went in there fresh like the Surly brothers, he would probably get frozen, I assume. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the video today, guys. Once again, I want to thank all 127 of my incredible patrons, and if you would like to be in next week's Q&A, simply check out the Patreon. The link is in the description. $5 tier will give you access to this video. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.